Hello and welcome everybody to today's Intuitive Growth with Oracle and Tarot Cards interview series. We are having a generous interaction with Sasha here, who is not just a card reader, but Sasha's actually created her own card deck, which is quite inspiring and awe-inspiring as well. So welcome to today, Sasha. Thank you so much for being here. How are you feeling?
I'm really excited. Thanks so much, Jessica, for having me here. It's always such a pleasure to talk about these cards and to share about it. They're like another being on their own, like energy. So it's nice that I can share them with you all.
Beautiful. You said that you've been reading card for 8 years. How long have you been reading your own personal card decks and other card decks?
Great question. So that takes me back. So I did have a spiritual awakening period where this was around 2009, and I got so like caught up in this spiritual world, and I just any at back in that time, not many people were actually doing these free readings on Facebook, or now there's so many of them. So it was really, it was more of a precious opportunity when someone did that. And I connected with quite a few really, really magical beings who were sharing messages. They, they also were encouraging me to tap into my intuitive gifts, which I wasn't really thinking about seriously then
Mhm.
until until that that little period just woke me up to intuition on the whole, the connection with the spiritual world, the type beyond the cards. It was just the type of messages. Like one time I remember, or actually two instances I can share about. So one was where so the message was about there's a bee that is landing, is circling around you, and it lands right in front of your nose, and it's the message was about you, what you're seeing is right in front of you, or what you're missing something right in front of you. And literally, like, and also there was a rose in it. I had a rose was blooming in the garden outside, and later in the day a bee just came into my room, and it was circling and it wouldn't leave. I never had that experience, like how often is it that that happens? And so many instances like this would happen, like be connected to someone who's actually sensing the pain that I'm in, like a health issue, and they're actually sensing that there is a pain in a certain area. And I never questioned it. I was just so fascinated by, like the possibilities, and it was such a magical world. And I felt like I was walking into like a almost like, like a fairy tale almost. And
Right.
I literally made a website where I was putting together, um, like different clips, different pieces that I was finding, and I had a fairy tale, like a book, a magical book, and it felt like that was what was happening. So I started getting into the cards. The next year, I took a leap. When I had left home, so I'm in Trinidad, where when I had left to study in Canada, it's a bit difficult to get those things here. So when I went there, I ordered my first deck of cards, and I started doing readings for people around, just like friends and family, whoever was interested, because my friends at that time, they weren't really so keen on those things. So, I just practiced. I did a lot of practicing online. I had a site called the Angel Playhouse. It was a lot on the angels. Um, Actually, I had a, a template, like a design for a first act that involved the angels, but I never really went through with that because the other ideas came after so quickly. And, that was just like a really magical bit of time. It opened up so much for me. And yeah, that's the start of it when I first got into it.
Sounds so
How the decks
spontaneous.
it was like an adventure, like
Yeah.
one after the other, and I was just going with what was happening, what was coming up. And the decks were actually created during some health crises. So times where I was going through some inner healing, like I had to take some time out to heal on the physical level. And in that space of time, you're not really doing, not feel like you're doing much otherwise, but actually so much was happening spiritually.
Mm.
And and I the first deck was actually based on astrology, and it was something it was something I left behind when I went to study. um, like you go to study this kind of technical sciencey thing,
Mm.
but astrology is still really scientific. It's just, but I left it behind, and when I came back to it, this this new part of me met it in this place, and I couldn't see astrology the same way. And I wanted to make a deck that would give people the opportunity to interact without, like usually when you think about astrology, say you think about it as, well, this planet is, or something is dictating, or like if you don't have any say in the matter. So the deck was about bridging the gap, like helping people feel the energies connected real time instead of waiting till, maybe when it shows up in a chart or when it's like a new moon. So it's been, that deck was created in 2013, and it's been the main one that I've been using. I've been using with, it's with great success, I would say,
Mm.
in in how in how astrology helps in framing a reading and everything. It's just so amazing.
Powerful. I'm not sure if it was the astrology deck I received a card reading from you from whatever where I'm supposed to say that sentence. It was on Facebook. Sasha had you had the post up and like you picked which card came up for you, and then the card that came forward for me really highlighted the deep magic you have, because that card in an instant took me to a childhood connection that was powerful. You offered within the card, you offered a action step, if that,
Mm.
I'm not sure if that's what you call it, but it was an action step like do this, and instantly it just opened up a space of clarity for me around a question I'd really been wondering about. So your magic is definitely present within those cards. I'm curious, you seem to have followed that excitement of the cards quite naturally and organically and such. Were you aware prior to receiving those card readings about the bee, which is just one of those fantastic stories? Prior to our meeting starting, there was a bee that came to the window and was tapping against the glass. As soon as
Really?
you said that, I was like, yes. Um, Prior to you getting that card reading, were you aware of having some kind of intuitive or other senses that weren't the norm, or was that your first time being introduced to it?
Okay. And as you mentioned that with the bee, it's just a nice message that things come back
Yeah.
in around, like they come back and you get a new message every time.
Absolutely.
from the same like whatever it is, from the same image, or you see something different. But yeah, for me, I have been connected to creativity, intuition, but not in an outright way in terms of I'm intuitive or that kind of thing. Mainly what happened when I was younger. When I was younger, I did a lot of art that was very detailed and very rigid, and it used to bring me like I had that perfectionist streak, and it must be right, and I would be unhappy and upset if it wasn't like perfect, and every detail, because I'm a Virgo, and every detail must be must be in place, and if I make a mistake, well, I soon learn how to uh, fix those things. But
Unacceptable.
yeah, but it used to be something that brought up a lot of like heavy emotions, like
Mm,
as a child. And then when I had a health issue when I was 9, and that involved near-death experiences.
mm,
And in the time of healing, I did a lot of creativity, poems, I um, artwork. I'll be sitting in the hospital and just drawing, whatever's around. I would just be drawing, and that was my release or my connection to myself. It was always my connection to myself. Like I naturally knew what to do to connect, and when you couldn't really physically move around very much, um, it is something that I always had with me, like the ability to create and be innovative in it too, in terms of make do things in a little different way, or create something a little bit, you know, make it more fun or
mm,
adventurous or that kind of thing. So
mm,
art was a outlet, a means of expression for a long time, but intuition was something that I think that native experience, it opened up a bit. I was already I was already a bit spiritual, I would say, but more than average. But that experience just really drove it home. It just I felt really out of place when I had to go back again to school and regular life. I mean, I was
mm,
also healing. So that's where it really started. And I would always have awareness of the sacredness of the spiritual connection. My family is really connected in the Hindu tradition and
mm,
spirituality in that way, and there wasn't anything rigid around it. Like I was I was free to experience it as I wish. So it brought in, it felt like I had freedom in that way, in the spiritual connection, in how to connect. And there wasn't, except for perhaps other people who had other religious, um, in the family, they may have had religious beliefs around tapping into astrology and like and what that means, and they wouldn't want to hear anything about what I do. So I really kept it to myself a lot
mm.
because of people not really being so
Open.
receptive.
Mm.
Yeah. But that's where
That's
it started.
that's beautiful. It's interesting to hear that dynamic of, even though you were encouraged to explore it, there was still that environment that was saying, but keep it quiet,
Yeah.
but keep it silent. You
Yeah.
mentioned your artwork. Did you do the artwork for your cards?
Yeah.
Are you able to show them to the camera at all, that we can see a
Sure,
little bit of that?
sure. So it's two different decks. The first deck is which is the astrology deck. I'll show you. Okay, so as an example, let's see
I
how it
think you can hold it
appears.
in front of your face so that it can see it a little bit more into the center. Yeah, there we go. As long as if you can't see the screen, we can see it. That sounds terrible.
Okay, great.
So Jupiter, good fortune and good learning, I think it said.
Higher learning.
Higher learning. Ah, that's even just receiving that hawk. I think that message was for me. I don't know anybody else out there watching this, but I was seeing a hawk yesterday. That is very synchronistic.
And so let me show you two here. So this is House of Career, House of Relations. So
Oh, the colors on that one is beautiful. I love how it merges together.
and then this one, some of them I like the process of creating it.
Mm.
All able to see this?
It fades in and out. Yeah, that's good. But as soon as you get it, it then fades out. But we can see most of the image: the key, the feet, the
Yeah,
hat. Yeah.
yeah. So how to me it was really exciting when it happened because I loved the painting or doing art outside. And when I started it, I went outside and a grasshopper came on my campus. And then I was like, this is really interesting. And then another grasshopper came, it was like a baby one. And they were just like on my canvas and I couldn't do anything. And then I checked it up, and grasshopper is like a leap of creativity.
Mm.
And then these cards, it's like 50, around 50, yeah, approximately 50 cards. And I also have a mini deck too in it. But they were done in 2 weeks. So, and every day I would just be nonstop painting. Like I went really quickly from getting the flash of what the painting would be, and I didn't really plan it out or anything, like sat down and drew it out or anything. I just started painting and whatever came through, which is, as you can see, very different from how I was when I was a child, perfectionist. So for me, it was a big healing because I just went with the flow with that, and it happened. It all happened so fast. So that one, um, it was really like, for instance, it's Mercury retrograde. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you can say
Is,
it,
is that a heron?
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a telescope.
And the branches going around.
Yeah, yeah. It's a little glare on it, but and there's a Chiron.
Oh, that one's got a strong energy.
Yeah. So it's like trauma. I had to put in that piece in there.
Yeah, definitely. That's you said in you had that contrast of when you were younger, the perfectionist with the artwork, and when this was coming through you, it was just flowing through you. Was it did you have the intention of, okay, I'm just going to let what's happening come out, or was it just a spontaneous?
I think because I was already in that frame, I was doing so much spiritual healing for myself, like energetic healing. And I was in this mode of being in like when you do that type of healing, you trust in things more versus I guess you can say my personality or the Virgo part of me, which is more sciencey. And it this that took more of a backseat to the actual flowing with what was coming through. So in the next deck of cards, I was actually able to, you might think that, or you might see that what was happening there was a lot of spiritual and a little bit of the the sciencey part of me. The next deck, I was able to bring it more level because I it involves a system connecting your gifts to the chakras and and your purpose. And it was really like I got back into my Virgo self, and it was really like I organized every card, what every card would be, and every card in the deck, what it would look like. This is this one. I was just going with, okay, well, it seems like there might be, you know, that kind of thing. But this one, the intuition and the science part of me came together in a different way.
Okay.
And so it's just interesting to how they unfolded.
Would you, it sounds like the second card deck wouldn't have been able to happen if you hadn't have gotten into that space of the first card deck, just seeing
Flowing.
what happens with
Yeah.
the flowing. So would you say that second card deck was you being in more harmony with both sides of how you, the masculine, feminine, Virgo
Perhaps,
flow?
yeah. More of myself into it, yeah. More of
Okay.
my other gifts, I would say, coming into it.
That's
Because
beautiful.
as you can see, so I'll show you the back of it. So the
Okay.
back
Yeah.
of it, it's as you can see, there's a this is the symbol. So there's a like a you can see it from this.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess this is a good angle.
We found it. Something to try is the charm.
So like the card itself, uh, is coming.
If you hold it in front of your chest, put it in front of your chest. There we go.
Oh,
There, we can at least see that easier.
did you read it though?
I can't read it. So, hold it there and then just guide it forward from that space. Yeah. Now lift up. Okay. Okay. No, this isn't working. Sorry.
That's okay.
And just read it out so we could see what the picture was when it was to your chest.
Okay, let's go back there. Well, you get an idea.
We have an idea, yes.
Yeah. So the back of it was like this. I think this is to see. So this image, it had some thought into it, into what the cards might involve. So it was a system of the 7 chakras, but also for healing 4 parts of the self. And it was something that I was already integrating in my natural healing work. So like, connecting to the 4 parts of yourself to heal, like the spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, and then with the chakras too. So to me, it was also exciting in a different way, because I connect with a different part of myself that likes to it likes likes to put things, reframe things, or see things in a different way. And I mean, not that the astrology deck was not a different way too, but it's just more structured in this one. And it was me connecting to more of a different part of me. Again, it happened as I had gone through my schooling training, and I was really much scientific in that space of time. So then reintegrating things again. So yeah.
Beautiful. Sounds like the much conscious creation, which is, I think, a lot of times the controller part of ourselves doesn't realize is available to us when we
Right.
surrender to that flow. But you stepped into that space of you are the co-creator, even though
Yeah,
the inspiration is coming through you. All of you is able to be put into it, which is
right. And
wonderful.
the concept for that second app, it actually all came through really quickly too, even though there was still the thoughts, the thinking mind in it. Like I literally was on a bus drive, and just within the hour, everything just came through in that. Even though there was structure and everything, but the basic template was there quickly, like it was still something that I surrendered to receive, and not questioning too much. Like there's a fine balance with structure, having structure, and how you let things flow, and then which part of it you have the framework for. So
You said it was an instant down, or like within an
yeah,
hour it was all there, but your the healing that all goes into the cards began when you were 9. So that
yeah,
the timing, what we perceive in the lineal timeline, is so different to the divine feminine, how it flows through,
yeah,
which is quite cool, how that
yeah,
all comes together. So you've had quite a variety of ways of receiving, of playing, of creating, of expanding who you are in relation to this world and what we perceive possible with these card decks. Because like you said, in the big 2009, this wasn't a common thing, and now it seems like everyone knows about it
yeah.
online. So
Oh.
what golden nugget of insight do you have available to share for those who are using oracle cards to grow their intuition?
To grow their intuition. So in terms of there's so many when you're just starting out with it. So it's nice to experiment with your own ways. What I did first is I saw how other people did it in their way, and not everyone's way will jive or resonate with you. It would really, you don't have to do it the same way that someone is teaching it. Like it may be a different way that you receive messages or a different way that speaks to you. So I see, in terms of connecting, using it as a tool, experiment, play with it, be open to whatever different possibilities. But also one important thing that I I didn't mention so far, but it's about boundaries, and when you're holding space, when you're doing readings and all that, it's really important to, the groundwork before you even connect, because you can get drained. You can also go into it, if you're doing it for other people. You're asking about for connecting to your own intuition, right? As a tool
Yeah, for people who are using it to connect for themselves and strengthen that
for
muscle.
themselves. Yeah. So connecting to your source, your spiritual source, your being in a high vibration, because remember, the cards are tools of receiving messages, just like when we say a spirit guide or animal guide. The card is another tool, and that's why there's so many different spiritual influences out there in the world. Like it can be not for your highest good, for so make sure that your intention, your energy is set
Yes.
to when you're receiving the messages through the cards, and know that once you do that, you don't have to, the fear and the doubt it often comes from our own issues, whether we feel we're good enough, or we've had enough practice, or those different kinds of things. But with time, with practice, those things get easier for yourself. But I would say using it as a tool for connection is really something, that it can open up, like you just pick a card for a day, and it allows you to connect in on a different level. I'm sure people listening may have that experience of,
For sure.
you pick your card for the day, and you feel something shift with it, because you get an insight or a nudge to see things in or to look into something differently. So be open to the messages, and don't be too hard on yourself with what you get as well. You know,
Absolutely.
yeah, be gentle.
Oh, that's such a good one. Good takeaway. Be gentle as you're growing, for
Yeah,
sure.
that's why I
And
love the angels, because they're like angel cards, because they're always positive and uplifting.
very kind. They always have a very kind energy, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's a nice reminder maybe for what kind of card deck you're starting off with might have a different impact on how you're
true.
learning.
That's true. Yeah.
Mm.
So, but the thing that you resonate with, for instance, for me, angels was always coming up in my past, and it kept coming. Like even if I hadn't opened that door yet, it would keep coming up. Like almost like this movie of your life, and this
Yeah.
message keeps coming to you, and you didn't really pay attention, but it might be your path through the cards to open up. Like if your thing is nature, it can also be tapping into the animals, the plants, and
Mm.
things like that.
Mm. I
So
think
go
you,
with
oh, sorry, finish?
Yeah, no, just go with your heart. That's the where you feel drawn to.
Mm.
When you see, whether you're looking online, offline, and you're browsing, what it is that keeps, like, there's usually one thing that keeps prompting you, like, you must buy this one.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's such a familiar sentence to hear from people when they're sharing what card deck they're using, and they go, I had to buy it. I couldn't leave the store without it."
screaming out.
Absolutely. So I feel like you kind of already answered this question, but maybe in just a one final closing piece with it, what reminder, because as you pointed out, the cards are a tool, and connect with what resonates with you. If it's nature, if it's animals, if it's angels, just find what resonates with you. Uh, what do you feel is something important for people to remember in relationship with their cards, because the cards are their own specific tool. So it's not like reading tea leaves. We're reading cards, right? There's something unique about their energy. What do you feel is valuable for people to just keep in the back of their minds as they engage with this tool to support them?
Yeah, you need to trust in yourself, like develop trust in your the messages that you're receiving, because sometimes what is written in a book that comes with it is not what you may be receiving for that card or what it pops up. So I know even at the beginning, I would be reading the books, and like that was the basis. But I also have the booklets in my own as a guidance, but know that for you may be receiving trust, develop that trust in your intuition. The cards are just amplifying what you're receiving. So the more that you can develop your own intuition, connecting in to to increase your connection, your own connection, the more that the cards can help you with that process too. The cards just make it more, they make it more fun, right? They make it more because you have like color, and you have images that you can connect with, but not everything. Like say for instance this image that I had shared before with this person. So you see this
Just back it
image.
up a little bit. We can only see her.
Okay, just
Yeah, she's
okay.
painting, right? Or is she cleaning a
She's
window?
wiping a glass.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's like she's cleaning the window, and then there's a like a candle here, and this is about cleaning your space. But if you pull this card, you might think, okay, it means like physical cleaning, or it might mean like cleaning my like saging or something, like
Mm,
smudging. You know, like depending on what is going on for you, you know, like once you're connected in to your intuition, it will pop to you, it will pop out. So the thing that pops out is often the thing that is your main guidance message, you know, like trust your first impression basically, because we tend to doubt ourselves or second guess what we're receiving. So,
mm,
you know, what was the first impulse? Like as soon as you know, that really sends like a like shivers, like you know that this is right. This is like maybe I just need to clean out my space around me. Like it's really um a mess around me and I need to
absolutely.
a little tidying up and that kind of
Mm. I love how you say how it brings it in more fun, but it amplifies what you're receiving. That was such a beautiful word to use. So in life, how the bee came into your
yeah,
room after you received the card reading. Sometimes in life we have it the other way around. We have a bee come into our space and then we get the card reading, and the cards just amplify that message that you're like, this is standing out to me. Why is this so
yeah,
important?
yeah. Oh, I did that happened to me. That's why, yeah, it keeps coming up. But yeah. So
Yeah.
like it can go either way like that. Because as you said, we have to like past, present, future, the timelines of how you receive messages. It's it's so fluid
Oh
and
yes.
it can be so fun and adventurous. And that's what I hope to convey in what in my work because you know I like that element of playfulness and
Mm,
fun, not too serious with it. You can,
definitely.
yeah.
Do you feel that is the thing that working with cards that makes your heart smile? Or would you say there's a different dynamic that working with cards really lights up your heart?
For me, it's the well because it's what I painted like the color, and it's really vibrant, and I can when I'm using them, I can I can connect easily to the ambience of it, and it does light me up to do that because I feel the joy of the creation, and
Mm,
you know in a different way than say if I had used someone else's deck, or if you know some there are certain decks that I may draw upon, but these I'm really connected with because it's something that I created, and you know like the connection in that. So definitely I recall the play and the joy in the creation every time I use it, and I feel like it it helps the session itself, so that when I'm working or if I do a reading, it always ends up being really uplifting or energizing. And a big part of it is the you know the connection with the cause
mm-hmm.
that are there. So I did a lot of fun things to develop my own intuition to you know in a creative way, and maybe for someone else it may not be that that route, you know, that route that they use
Mm,
to connect with their intuition. Maybe a little different. It may look different, you know, because we have different parts of our gifts that you know that help
mm-hmm.
us along. And that's what this card deck was about.
Beautiful. You can feel it in your laughter. You can just feel that joy being present.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah, it's
inspiring.
something I love talking about. So thank you so much for allowing me to share about it.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing who you are with the world, in whether it's just for you to work with the card decks, card readings, this. Thank you for being here as you and all of you. And I've got two final questions for you. This
Sure.
last one is a little bit of a funny one to keep the good humor going. If you were to describe your relationship with your card decks, the ones you've created, what taste would you describe it with?
Taste in terms of like
Like if you had
sour.
any taste that comes to mind. It can be a thing, it can be a drink, it can be a sweet
Ah,
sour bitter.
like a flavor.
Yeah, like a flavor.
Okay. Uh, I think like I'm getting sweet, salty, like caramel and caramel with like salty kind of.
Yeah.
Not that I don't know why salty came up.
Salt goes with a lot of the good things. That's
Now
beautiful.
there's a balance. It has, even though it's meant for positive or healing, there's there's some things that you face when working with it. So there's a balance of reality. Like there's always what you can do. So it's not gonna just give you like, okay, everything's fine and happy and dandy, like that kind of thing. It's also going to give you guidance. Okay, maybe this needs to shift a bit, or you need to look at this part of things. So that aspect of it, there is there's that energy, the balance there, a
That
light
is
and dark.
so cool. That is saying a salty and caramel. I love that. So, one thing you shared when we were discussing is that the thing you love doing about readings and sharing the readings and reading for others is it adds color and depth. Yes, color and depth to the work with people. So, when anyone listening follows the links that are provided in the description to your social media platforms, what are they going to find there for them? What are they going to find available for them?
Okay, so right now my work has shifted a bit. So where where I mentioned with the codex, I was focusing a lot on how you use your gifts and connect to your purpose and things like that. And I still incorporate those tools, but the directions more to help people, use their gifts in higher service in a spiritual business. So if they are actually going about, for instance, doing readings for other people, or as a using their healing gifts. So I'm also looking, as I mentioned to you, in a set another deck, and it's based on this new evolution in connecting with how to best connect, how to best stay in balance in your energy. And I still incorporate everything else, the other card decks, but I'm also integrating this aspect of staying in balance to thrive in your business as you serve the world in the highest with the highest impact and fulfillment, but also with the support to do that, with the abundance, the flow to you. So using more energy dynamics. So, I mean, previously it was chakras, but now I use the five elements with it, and that's another layer of the work that I'm doing now. So they will find support if they are in any spiritual business, like healing arts. They will find support to create that business, build a business that aligns with who they are in on the inside. Like the value systems and beliefs, deep down. That sometimes can be a bit. It can it can be a bit jarring when you're facing the online or the business world that takes us out of balance, out of feminine and not necessarily in an aligned way of doing things. So this is the help in coming back into balance, finding what's tweaking things, and again, there's still that dynamic of the caramels towards the salty sweet, because there'll be the guidance, there'll be the support to help you with the shifts needed to be in that place of thriving, place
Mm.
of really sharing nuggets. Again, everything that I created came from my own personal experiences. It was it's basically, as a result of my transformation, something something new was born, and the card deck is like a material form of that what new came together. So I just love the card decks because they show a timeline of my transformation.
That is so powerful. That is really, really powerful. And a beautiful reminder that whatever business or way of being in the world people are creating, it's a creation of their own personal transformation.
It is, yeah.
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 Wow. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. Thank you so much for your beautiful salty caramel. Just I love that you said those two. It's just so much fun energy. And do you want to show one or two more pictures from the last deck just as a goodbye?
Okay, sure. Okay, look, this came out.
See which card pops out. Was that a giraffe?
Yeah, it's
Oh, perfect.
yes, these are like your power animals.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And there's something fun when I created this deck. They were all, if you put them together, they actually make a big painting. So I actually cut them up. I made a big painting, and so that's where some extra thought came into play too.
That is the fun thing you don't get to know
Yeah,
when you're just flipping through the cards. That is
yeah.
perfect.
It's like a little
Puzzle.
inside.
Yes. Inside note.
another another level of play, when you're doing it.
Uh,
But
if someone just had to lay out the card deck, would they be able to see how the picture comes together?
yeah, so every color has you can put them together and you'll form like a mini world of characters, and it
Ah,
and it will connect in the like some elements of one will be in another, because they were made like if the characters were in a scene together, and I cut them up like that. So that was a
beautiful.
fun part of creating.
Oh, well, definitely go check out Sasha's page if you are interested in getting a card deck that allows you to really play beyond just the guidance, but really play with the characters and the colors and how they all come into harmony together
Yeah,
and supporting you in coming into wholeness, right? Because that sounds like really a large part of your journey is just coming into those two sides, coming into wholeness.
more like what I can offer. Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
Beautiful. Thank you for offering all of yourself today and in this
my
moment.
pleasure. My pleasure.
Bye, everyone.